Excuse me? Did you just ask what was BGK Network for? I'm glad that you asked. Let me get the number up because I know you're going to call. So BGK was founded by Michael. What happened to the number? The number's at the top of the screen now. But anyway, get the number. As I was saying, BGK Network was founded by... It's at the bottom of the screen. Really? Really? Okay. I'm sorry for calling you Michael. Apostle, just put me back where I can talk. Just put me back, please. Wow, some people are so sensitive, right? But seriously, what you just saw was a sample of what Apostle Michael Dulaney and Evangelist Tiffany can do through virtual ministry with BGK Network. They founded BGK to help people like you and myself to put the gospel out around the world. It's a great opportunity. I do encourage you to call the number. It's more affordable than you think. Give them a call. I did.
Hello and welcome to Living on Purpose. I'm Prophetess Christine Bowen, and I want to thank you for taking the time out to join me on this broadcast on today. Again, I want to just tell you how much I truly do appreciate you for tuning in. And to all of you who hung in there with me until I was able to do a bounce back and come back and bring new material, I thank you. I truly do thank you for hanging in there with me. But as I always say, if you have not done so, or if you have not spread the word, tell everyone about the BGK Network app. They can go to their Google store, their Play Store, whatever they have, whichever device that they use, and they can download it for free. This way they will have all of the gospel music, the word, they will have good teaching 24/7. So listen, spread the word, download the BGK app, and allow people to be blessed just as you. Now on today, I really want to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart because we're dealing with it so much today. Even within our children, we're dealing with addiction. And so on today, I want to talk to you about addiction. And this is truly something that is starting to take over our lives. Somewhere, somehow, all of us know someone who has been either affected or has gone through addiction. And so I want to talk about addiction for our own mental health and wellness. We can be addicted to many different things, including food, and that is not good. Let me tell you, your cholesterol can be high, your blood sugar can be high, your blood pressure can be high, all in the things that we take and we eat and put in our bodies. So I want to talk about addiction, and do forgive me if I look down a little bit, but it's so much information. I need to be able to read it to you, not so much as ad-libbing and things of that nature, but I want you to get the full effect of this information. And I pray that it helps someone's family who may have someone who's addicted or is going through addiction, or to give someone more information as to how they may be able to help someone or a family who is going through some form of addiction. So an addiction is a dependency on a substance. We can look at alcohol, prescription drugs, some medications, marijuana. And when I'm gonna go back and say medications, okay, we have people who are addicted to NyQuil. We have people who's addicted to Robitussin DM, just that simple, okay? Or even street drugs, okay? Or activities such as gambling, such as shopping. Again, like I said, eating. Some people are addicted to Coca-Cola. Some people are addicted to Diet Coke. Okay, just this. When we're talking about addictions, an addiction is a physical or psychological compulsion to use a substance or activity, okay, or activity to cope with everyday life. Okay, for example, without alcohol, the alcoholic does not feel normal and cannot function. You know, we used to have a joke about a few people when I was younger in the family. You know, they drink. They wake up in the morning, had to have a drink, because if they didn't drink, they wake up with shakes. They would literally shake, as my hand is doing on the screen right now. And they would do stuff like this, and they would go to put on their makeup and they couldn't do it because they were shaking, where they were going through an alcoholic withdrawal. Okay, if you're a drug addict, same thing. You're going through a withdrawal. Your nerves need the stimulants, because now you've introduced your nerve endings, your nervous system, to this stimulus, whatever it is, including sex. So addiction is a behavior that is habitual, it's a habit, and difficult or seemingly impossible to control. Okay, it seems impossible to control. It leads to activity that is designed solely to obtain the substance or cover up its use. How often have you had someone who you knew was on something, but they're like, nope, I'm good. I haven't taken anything today. I haven't taken any oxycodone, or I haven't taken any Tylenol with codeine. You know, what are you talking about? They're well, they know how to, let's just say this, cover it up well. They know how to disguise it because they've become so immune to it, to where it becomes normal for them. So in their minds, they're not lying. But we know the truth. Understand? The housewife hiding bottles all over the house, the drug addict shoplifting to support the habit, the gambler embezzling payoff debts. Hear me, okay? So there's defense mechanisms of the denial. The addicts blame his the addict blames his or her problems on someone else. We know that, right? We've had that situation before, that it's always somebody else's fault, never theirs. Whether it's alcohol or drugs, it's never their fault. It's somebody else. Well, if these kids would act right, you're getting on my nerves, I need to go smoke me a cigarette. You know, we used to hear all the time from the older people, I need a glass of wine. I got to give me a glass of wine. I got to calm my nerves. These are the things that we use as defense mechanisms. We have to have a justification as to why we're doing wrong. So another example is the boss is too difficult. That's why you quit your job. The spouse isn't affectionate enough. That's why you go out multiple times and sleep with other women or other men. The kids are disobedient, okay? Or the friends are too persuasive. The actual addict refuses to take responsibility or ownership of their own actions. And see, what we have to understand is that people don't just wake up and all of a sudden they're addicts. This is something that is passed down. How can you say that? Well, think about the babies who are born in addiction. They're in the mother's womb, but it's the mother who is the addict. So when the mother is doing the crack cocaine, when the mother is doing the heroin, when the mother is smoking the marijuana, it's being passed down to the child through the what? Embryonic fluid. That baby is in the womb, in the what we call the sac, surrounded by amniotic fluid. And so the umbilical cord is the gateway. Hear me now. So when the child eats while the baby is in the womb, it's eating whatever the mother is eating. So that's why the mother has to be very careful about what she puts in her body, because she's passing whatever she puts in her body down to that child. What's an example of that? Doctors will only allow pregnant women to take Tylenol or maybe ibuprofen. And it's less ibuprofen than Tylenol when they're sick. They can have a head cold. They can have something going on where they stuffy or whatever, but there's very few medications that doctors will give their patients when they're pregnant. Why? Because it can affect the life of that child. It can affect that baby's brain forming while it's still in the womb. It can affect the baby's breathing. It can affect the baby's eyesight. It can affect the baby's hearing. It can affect the growth and development of that baby, that fetus that is in the womb. So when we look at in someone who is grown, who's an adult, and they've been introduced to a drug, hear me, they've been introduced to marijuana. Why? Because Uncle Tom said, here, go and light this for me. You 5 years old. All you know is Uncle Tom told you to go light something that's is rolled up and is white. And so here you go, 5-year-old, and you think you're doing it, it's okay, and you light it. Guess what? That addiction just got handed down to you. I don't care if you, that addiction was just handed down to that 5-year-old child. And because it's a stimulant, now that child is going to desire something that he never even knew about. He still to this day don't understand what it means to puff something. You understand what I'm saying? Why are you puffing something? Well, I'm puffing it because I was told to light it, but I wasn't told of the effects to my body, to my nervous system in puffing and lighting something. I joke with my children a lot because I talk about how as a child, we would actually fight to light Daddy Frank's pipe. It was something about seeing him sit in his chair and he had that pipe. He was just a man's man. He had his pipe. And we wanted to please Daddy Frank. We wanted to help him. You know how you love your father or those who are fathers to the fatherless. You know, he was my uncle, but he was my dad at the time. And so I would run and want to light the pipe for Daddy Frank. And I remember taking the matchbox and lighting it and looking at it, put that pipe there and light that pipe. After a while, I became a master at it. It didn't choke me because I knew not to puff in. You got to hear me. I knew to puff, but not take it in, but blow it out. When I first started, I didn't know what to do. So when I pulled it in, I choked, tears coming all out. Oh my God. But I became a master at it. Why? Because he never said or never stopped us from lighting his pipe. To him, he saw the joy that we took in helping him, wanting to please him. He never looked at what was passing down to us or what could have happened to us or how it could have brought on that habit of smoking. Okay? So, drug addiction is the biochemical dependency on a substance. So over time, the body needs the substance. The nerves begin to react when they don't have the substance. Hear me now. In ever increasing amounts to stave off the symptoms. So when the person who is addicted gets to a point that at first 5 grams was good, now I need 7 grams, I need 8 grams. I done went from 1 joint a day to 5 joints a day. I done went to shooting up from once a day to now 3 times, 4 times a day, to the point that I don't even know what vein to use anymore because I done used them up. Going in between my fingers, going in between my toes to shoot up heroin. Now I'm mixing things, just household products, because that's what crack is, trying to get a high. Because see, what we don't understand about addiction is that they're always chasing the first high. That first high is so, how can I put it? It's so great that they're always chasing that first high. So the next time you get it, it doesn't give you that same effect. I mean, you'll get some, but you won't get it to that magnitude you got it that first time. And then after the third time, see, this is why we have to keep doing it over and over again, or we begin to do it on more occasions because we're still chasing that first high. So when it seems like heroin is not enough, now I'm going to go over to crack. If it ain't crack, now I'm going to put the two together. And now we have fentanyl. And now we have ISO. ISO is supposed to be now more dangerous than fentanyl. We're chasing another high and another high and another high. Non-drug addictions include compulsive overeating, as I've stated, gambling, sexual addiction, such as to pornography, child pornography, pedophilia is what some may call it. Okay, we're now getting to a place where one person may not satisfy us. Maybe we want to have menage a trois. Maybe we want one or two or three people in the bed with us. Now we done moved to having not only a male, but a female, or maybe two females and a male in the bed with us. We're doing more to get a high, because even sexual addiction, there is a high to it. There is a feeling that you got the first time that you had sex, to where you're now still chasing after that first experience, that first encounter. So addiction, people of God, cannot be taken lightly. So how does someone become addicted to prescription drugs? Well, the doctor gives you 7 days on oxycodone or on, I had taken different medications during pregnancy, after birth, okay? Because you're trying to heal. If any woman has had a C-section, you know, it's painful. So they give you medication to take away the pain. You have sports athletes who have become addicted to painkillers because they blow their knee, they shatter their ankles, they pull muscles or growings, you know, break bones. And what happens? The doctors have put them on pain medication. And so before this became an issue, they were just passing them out like they were candy, Skittles. Here you go. Oh, you got a pain in your ankle? Here you go. Oh, you got your knee? Here you go. Is it your big toe? Here you go. They were just passing them out as if it was Skittles. It was candy. But since they have found that more adults have become addicted to painkillers, they have been more cautious as to how they prescribe these drugs. So when we look at the causes of addiction, let's just go here, because there's always a cause and effect, okay? Emotional. Addicts are emotionally wounded. One study of sex addicts found that 81% to be sexually abused, 74% physically abused, and 97% emotionally abused. Okay? Now, this is coming from Don't Call It Love by Dr. Patrick Carnes, Mark Lacer, and Deborah Lacer. Also, relational. Addicts' behaviors are positively related to troublesome early life experiences, okay, and relationships. For adults, addiction causes stress in interpersonal relationship and leads to social difficulties. Have you ever went out, and I know I'm talking to a bunch of saints, but we had a life before we came to Christ. So have you ever went out and you just had that one girlfriend that just had to get drunk? Or you had that one guy that just had to get drunk? We all knew that somebody had to be in charge of getting them home safely. We all knew that we had to kind of keep an eye on that one. Even I have experienced during my time during my career of traveling for training, and you have people coming from all over the world to this one convention for training, and there's always that 1, 2, 3 that even in a professional setting could not discipline themselves because their addiction to alcohol, their addiction to sex caused them to act out or have behaviors that was unseemly, that even caused some to lose their jobs. When they got back to their home offices, they got notice from the directors that they had lost their jobs because of how they acted during training. So we're talking about physical. Addicts become physically dependent on their substance. But like I showed you, my hands begin to shake, tremble. I know people who they can't even get up in the morning. They will not brush their teeth before they have a cigarette. First thing in the morning, they're going to light that cigarette because they've got to get that sensation, okay? On their substance abuse, experiencing withdrawal without them. And heroin addicts, crack addicts, those who are on the heavier form of addictions, when they go through withdrawal, it's nothing nice. And as a matter of fact, they really have to be under observation at a care facility when they're trying to go through rehabilitation, when they're trying to go through the withdrawal process. There is something that has to be replaced for it. You understand what I'm saying? They just can't go cold turkey. Hear me. They just can't go cold turkey. There has to be a replacement. Some have been graced by God that when they stop touching the beer or the alcohol, God graced them not to go through a tumultuous withdrawal. Okay? But that doesn't happen for everyone. That does not happen for everyone. Hear me, people of God. There was an incident where a man tried to stop drinking, and he was mainly addicted to beer. But he called himself going to take a weekend. Let's just say a weekend. Put himself in a hotel, lock the door, and go through withdrawal by himself. Unfortunately, he died. In the hotel, they found his body because he went through such a severe withdrawal that his internal organs, his body couldn't take it, and it killed him. This is why we have to be very cautious as to what we tell people when they're going through addiction. We're not MDs. Some of us are not counselors. So we have to be very careful as to the advice that we give those whom we love, or the advice that we give those who have been caught up or have gotten caught up in the whirlwind of addiction. We need to seek wise counsel for them, not just give them our opinions, but seek wise counsel for them. And so when we look at addiction again, cognitive and behavioral, addicts often have illogical or irrational thoughts, that cause them to forget their identity as children of God. Hear me. We have addicts sitting right up in the church, but we want to ignore the signs sometimes. We have to stop ignoring the signs. This is why God is having me to speak on this on today. We need to recognize the signs of addiction. Unrealistic expectations about themselves and others are also common. Unrealistic, hear me now, expectations about themselves and others are also common. Now, let's look at this from a spiritual perspective. Addiction at its core is rebellion against God. In addition, whether it is drugs, alcohol, or sex, the addiction becomes a false idol to the addict. The addiction becomes a false idol to the addict. How could I say this? 1 Corinthians 6:12. I have the right to do anything you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but I will not be mastered by anything. When you become an addict, that thing begins to master you. That thing begins to take hold of you. That thing begins to control you. So we have to be careful because any little thing can become an addiction. We now have it where some of us as parents have allowed our children become our little gods. They master us. They control you like puppets. Do you hear what I'm saying? Eli was an example. The priest Eli was an example of what I'm talking about. And this is in 1 Samuel, where we read about Eli, the priest, before Samuel came on the scene. There was an issue with Eli and his sons. God had already given direction to Eli about disciplining his sons. Eli knew what his sons was doing in the house of God. They were worshiping other gods. They were stealing money, sleeping with women. I'm just paraphrasing for time. Go back and read it. And even though Eli might have talked to him, pat him on the hand, he still allowed them to be in the church. He still allowed them to hold these positions in the house. He still allowed them to sleep and to touch the money. Do you hear what I'm saying? But then God had to raise up Samuel. He raised up someone to replace Eli, the priest. And that prophet, Samuel, had to inform his, hear me now, his leader, whom trained him from being a toddler. When his mother gave him over to God, prayed for a son, Hannah did what she had to do, gave him over as gratitude, kept the covenant with God. And he was raised in the church. He knew church discipline. He knew church protocol. He knew what he had to do for Eli, the high priest. But one of his assignments as a prophet was to tell the leader, the high priest, that judgment was going to be called upon his house, that God was about to judge Eli and his sons. So we have to make sure that we're in alignment with God. As soon as we step out of alignment with God, here is access. The door is open to the enemy to come in. So those people that we call friends, those people that we look upon as maybe being higher than us or because they have prestige, be very careful, because those are the ones that can lead you right into a place of sin, a place of being lost as never before, people of God. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. So I want to be able to leave you with that scripture, so that you understand my heart. When we talk about addiction, addiction leads to mental illness. Addiction leads to our psychological wellness. It leads it to a spiral of darkness. So please, people of God, know this: God loves you. He honors you. He wants you to prosper. He wants you to be in good health. Don't allow others to lead you on a path of damnation. Don't allow people to lead you in a path of sin, living a sinful life. But guess what? God still can bring you out. If you find yourself in a place of addiction today, I beg you to call for help. Call a clinic, call your doctor's office, talk to your pastor, see if they have resources for you to help you through your addiction. And as always, I'm praying for each and every one of you. I'm praying for you. If there's someone who is addicted and you want to get in contact with me, please do so. You can contact me at Real Talk Just 4, and that's the number 4 women, at gmail.com. You could contact me at itpministry7@gmail.com. You can inbox me. We're on Facebook, Christine Carlton Bowen. Messenger me. I will pray. I will intercede for you and for your well-being. Thank you for your time. Again, I'm Prophetess Christine Bowen, and you've been watching Living on Purpose. Have a blessed and wonderful day.